Marcus Chen stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around the massive space station. The metal walls stretched higher than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Lights of different colors blinked everywhere, and strange sounds echoed through the corridors. This was his first time seeing the Galactic Council's main station, and it was much bigger than he had imagined. He carried only a small bag with his clothes and some papers. His Earth uniform was simple and gray, nothing fancy like the colorful robes he saw other beings wearing. Chen was 52 years old, with gray hair at his temples and small glasses that made him look like a teacher. He walked slowly, taking in everything around him. A tall, blue-skinned alien approached him. The creature had 4 arms and eyes that glowed like yellow lights. "You must be the human ambassador," it said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like wind through metal pipes. "I am Delegate Vorthak of the Zephyrian Empire. Welcome to Council Station Alpha." Chen smiled and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Delegate Vorthak. I am Marcus Chen, representing Earth and humanity. I'm honored to be here." Vorthak's eyes dimmed a little, which Chen had learned meant the alien was thinking. "Yes, the newest species to join our community. Tell me, Ambassador Chen, how long has your species been traveling between stars?" "About 15 years since our first faster-than-light ship," Chen answered honestly. "We know we are very new to all of this." Other aliens had gathered around them now. Chen saw a creature that looked like a giant insect with green skin, another that seemed to be made of living crystal, and something that floated in the air with tentacles instead of arms or legs. They all stared at him with curiosity. 15 years, repeated the insect-like being. "My people, the Manthari, have been space travelers for over 3,000 years. The Krillax here," it pointed to the floating creature, "have explored the galaxy for 5,000 years. Chen nodded respectfully. "I understand we have much to learn from all of you. That is why I am here." The crystal being spoke next. Its voice sounded like music played through broken glass. "Humans are quite young as a species. What makes Earth think it is ready to join the Galactic Council?" "We do not think we are ready," Chen said calmly. "But we hope to become ready by learning from you. Humanity knows we are like children compared to your great civilizations." This answer seemed to please the aliens. They looked at each other and made various sounds that Chen guessed were approval. Vorthak's eyes brightened again. "A wise answer, young human. Come, let me show you to your quarters, and then we will give you a tour of the station." As they walked through the corridors, Chen listened carefully to everything the aliens told him. He asked questions about the Council's history, about the different species, and about how decisions were made. He took notes in a small book, writing down important details. The station was home to representatives from 47 different species. Each had their own section with air and gravity that matched their home worlds. The human section was small and simple, but Chen said it was perfect for his needs. "The council meets every day," Vorthak explained as they walked past a huge round chamber. "We discuss trade agreements, territorial disputes, and scientific discoveries. Sometimes debates can last for weeks." "What if there is an emergency?" Chen asked. "Emergencies are rare," said the Manthari delegate, whose name was Thylex. "We have had peace in this galaxy for over 800 years. The Council has learned to solve problems through talking, not fighting." Chen wrote this down in his notebook. "That is impressive. On Earth we have had many wars throughout our history." "Yes, we read about that in your files," Thylex said. "Your species ended a global war just before you developed space travel. Very violent history, but you seem to have learned from it." "We try to learn from our mistakes," Chen replied quietly. Over the next few days, Chen attended council meetings and watched how the aliens worked together. The debates were long and complicated, often about things like mining rights on distant asteroids or trade routes between star systems. Chen mostly listened and took notes, speaking only when asked direct questions. The other delegates began to respect his knowledge. Chen spoke several alien languages that he had learned from Earth's first contact with other species. He understood complex laws and treaties. When he did speak, his words were careful and thoughtful. "The human learns quickly," Vorthak told another delegate after one meeting. "Perhaps their youth is an advantage. They are not stuck in old ways of thinking." Chen overheard this comment but did not react. He continued reading reports and studying the station's layout. He memorized the security systems, learned which corridors led where, and noted which areas were restricted. To the other delegates, it looked like simple curiosity from a newcomer. During mealtimes, Chen sat with different groups of aliens, asking them about their homeworlds and cultures. He was particularly interested in their military histories, though he asked these questions carefully. The Krillax were once great warriors, one tentacled delegate told him proudly. We conquered 12 star systems before joining the council. What changed your minds about conquest? Chen asked, seeming genuinely curious. The council showed us that cooperation brings more benefits than war, the Krillax replied. Why fight when you can trade and share knowledge instead? Chen nodded and wrote this down. But late at night, alone in his quarters, he would sit at his small desk and write different notes in a second hidden notebook. These notes were about ship movements, defense systems, and the locations of important facilities throughout the galaxy. After 2 weeks, Chen had settled into a routine. He attended meetings, participated in discussions about trade and diplomacy, and made friends with delegates from various species. The aliens had accepted him as a valuable member of their community. Ambassador Chen has a gift for understanding complex situations, the Council Prime, leader of all the delegates, announced during one session. Perhaps Earth's fresh perspective will help us solve some of our older problems. Chen smiled humbly. I am still learning, Council Prime. Humanity is grateful for your patience with us. But sometimes when Chen thought no one was looking, his expression would change. The friendly smile would disappear and his eyes would become hard and calculating. He would study the security cameras, count the guards, and measure distances between important areas. The aliens saw exactly what Chen wanted them to see. A diplomatic man who was eager to learn and help his species fit into galactic society. They had no idea that their newest member was observing them with the careful eye of someone who had seen much more than he appeared to have. Chen's official files said he had been a career diplomat his entire adult life. They showed a man who had spent years learning languages and studying international relations on Earth. The files mentioned that he had helped negotiate the peace treaty that ended Earth's last global war. What the files did not mention was how that war had ended, or what Chen had done before becoming a diplomat. Those details were classified, hidden in Earth's military archives where curious aliens could not find them. As Chen lay in his bed each night, looking out the window at the stars, he would think about his real mission. The Galactic Council believed they had invited Earth to join as junior partners in their peaceful community. They had no idea that Earth had sent them much more than just an ambassador. The galaxy was about to learn that appearances could be very deceiving, and that humanity had secrets that would change everything. But for now, Chen continued to play his role perfectly, watching and waiting for the day when his true purpose would be revealed. 3 months had passed since Chen's arrival at the council station. He had become a familiar face in the meeting halls, always polite and helpful. The other delegates had grown comfortable with him, often asking for his opinion on difficult matters. Chen had proven himself to be an excellent listener and a skilled negotiator. But today was different. Emergency alarms were ringing throughout the station, and delegates were rushing to the main chamber. Chen walked calmly with the others, though he noticed everything around him with sharp eyes. The usually orderly corridors were filled with panic and confusion. Council Prime stood at the center of the chamber, its crystalline body flickering with nervous light. Fellow delegates, it announced in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. We have received disturbing news from the Outer Rim territories. A large holographic display appeared above their heads, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked various star systems, and Chen counted at least 15 of them. Each red dot represented something bad, though he did not yet know what. The Void Reapers have attacked again, Council Prime continued. They have destroyed 3 more colonies in the past week. The death count is in the millions. Chen had heard whispers about the Void Reapers during his time on the station, but no one had explained much about them. He raised his hand to speak, and Council Prime acknowledged him. Forgive my ignorance, Chen said in his humble diplomat voice. But could someone explain who the Void Reapers are? Earth's files do not contain much information about them. Delegate Thylex of the Manthari stood up. Its insect-like features were darker than usual, showing its distress. The Void Reapers are a nomadic warrior race that lives on massive ships in deep space. They do not build colonies or trade with other species. They only take what they want by force. How long have they been a problem? Chen asked, taking notes as always. For over 200 years, replied Vorthak. They attack worlds on the galaxy's edge, steal resources, and take prisoners as slaves. We have tried to negotiate with them many times, but they only understand violence. Chen wrote this down carefully. What has the council done to stop them? There was uncomfortable silence in the chamber. Several delegates looked at the floor or at their data pads. Finally, Council Prime answered. We have imposed economic sanctions and sent diplomatic protests. We have also deployed our peacekeeping force to patrol the threatened areas. Has this been effective? Chen asked. Another long silence. Thylex spoke first. The peacekeeping force is designed to maintain order between council members, not fight wars. Their ships are lightly armed and meant for patrol duties. When they encounter Reaper warships, they usually retreat to avoid unnecessary casualties. Chen looked up from his notes. So the Reapers continue to attack because there are no real consequences for their actions? That is a harsh way to put it, Vorthak said defensively, but essentially correct. The Council has maintained peace for 8 centuries by choosing negotiation over violence. We cannot abandon our principles now. The holographic display changed to show recent battle footage. Chen watched as large, dark ships with jagged edges attacked a peaceful colony. The buildings were destroyed by powerful weapons, and small figures could be seen running in panic. The images were difficult to watch. How many people have they killed? Chen asked quietly. In the past 5 years, approximately 50 million beings have died in Reaper attacks, Council Prime answered. Another 20 million have been taken as slaves. Chen felt something cold form in his stomach, but his face remained calm. What is the Council's current plan to deal with this crisis? We are preparing a formal declaration condemning the attacks, one delegate announced proudly. We will also increase economic sanctions and request that neutral species refuse to trade with any Reaper vessels. Will that stop them from killing more innocents? Chen asked. The delegates looked uncomfortable again. These things take time, Vorthak explained. We must exhaust all peaceful options before considering more drastic measures. After the meeting, Chen walked slowly back to his quarters. But instead of going to his room, he took a different path through the station's corridors. He had memorized every route during his first month, and now he used that knowledge to avoid the main areas where other delegates might see him. Chen made his way to a restricted section near the station's communication center. The guards knew him by now and did not question his presence. They thought he was just exploring, as many new delegates did. Chen had been very careful to establish this pattern over the past months. He found an empty observation deck that overlooked a docking bay. From here, he could see the peacekeeping force ships that Thylex had mentioned. They were sleek and beautiful with smooth lines and bright colors. But Chen's experienced eye could see that they were built for show, not for real fighting. Their weapons were small, their armor was thin, and their design prioritized speed over durability. Chen activated a small device hidden in his jacket and spoke quietly into it. This is Nightingale, he said, using a code name that no one on the station would recognize. I need a complete intelligence report on the Void Reapers. Military capabilities, fleet strength, leadership structure, and strategic objectives. Priority 1. He paused, listening to a response that no one else could hear. Understood. Also begin Phase 2 preparations. We may need to move quickly. Chen put the device away and returned to the public areas of the station. He found Thylex in the diplomatic lounge and approached the insect-like alien with a friendly smile. Delegate Thylex, could I speak with you privately? I have some questions about the Reaper situation that might be sensitive. Thylex looked around the busy lounge and nodded. Of course, Ambassador Chen, let us go to my private office. Once they were alone, Chen's demeanor became more serious. Thylex, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be completely honest with me. What is it? When the Council invited humanity to join, did they know about our recent war history? Thylex's large compound eyes focused on Chen with new attention. Yes, we were aware that Earth had recently ended a global conflict. In fact, that was one of the reasons you were invited to join. What do you mean? Thylex moved closer and lowered its voice. The Council has not faced a real military threat in centuries. Our member species have become very good at peaceful cooperation, but we have lost the knowledge of how to fight effectively. When the Reaper attacks began increasing, some Council members thought it would be wise to have a species that understood warfare as part of our community. Chen felt his diplomatic mask slip slightly. So humanity was recruited as military consultants? Not officially, of course. The Council would never admit to such a thing, But yes, there was hope that humans might provide insight into dealing with violent threats. Your species was specifically chosen because your files showed recent experience with organized warfare. I see, Chen said slowly. And what exactly do the Council's files say about Earth's last war? Only basic information. That it was a global conflict that ended approximately 20 years ago, and that you personally helped negotiate the peace treaty. The files describe it as humanity's final war before achieving interstellar travel. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, Thylex, what would happen if the Reapers decided to attack the core worlds instead of just the outer rim? Thylex's body language changed, showing fear. That would be catastrophic. The core worlds contain the home planets of most Council species, including Earth now. Billions would die and our entire civilization could collapse. And the peacekeeping force could not stop such an attack? Not even close, Thylex admitted. We would be helpless, Chen nodded slowly. Thank you for being honest with me. This conversation will remain private as promised. That night, Chen stood at his window looking out at the stars. His reflection looked back at him from the transparent metal, and for a moment he saw not the mild-mannered diplomat that others knew, but something harder and more dangerous. The Council had invited humanity to join them, hoping to gain access to military knowledge without having to dirty their own hands. They wanted the benefits of human experience with warfare while maintaining their peaceful image. But they had no idea what they had actually brought into their community. Chen touched the communication device in his jacket again. Soon he would need to reveal who he really was. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had not sent them just a diplomat. They had sent someone much more dangerous, someone who understood war in ways that the peaceful Council could never imagine. The Void Reapers thought they were the most feared force in the galaxy. They were about to discover how wrong they were. The emergency session had been called at dawn station time. Chen walked into the Council chamber to find chaos unlike anything he had seen in his 6 months there. Delegates were shouting in dozens of different languages. Some were crying and others seemed frozen in shock. The peaceful order that had defined the Council for centuries was completely gone. Council Prime stood at the center, its crystal body flashing red with distress signals. Silence, it commanded, using a voice amplifier that made the walls vibrate. We must maintain order. Slowly the noise died down. Chen took his usual seat and looked around at the frightened faces of beings from across the galaxy. Whatever had happened was worse than the previous Reaper attacks. Fellow delegates, Council Prime began, I must inform you that the Void Reapers have launched their largest offensive in recorded history. They are no longer attacking isolated colonies on the outer rim. They are moving toward the core worlds. The holographic display showed the galaxy map again, but now it was covered in red. Massive fleets of Reaper ships were advancing along multiple routes, all heading toward the most important systems in Council space. Chen counted the enemy vessels and felt his blood run cold. There were thousands of them. How many ships? He asked quietly. Our scouts report over 5,000 Reaper warships, Vorthak answered, his blue skin pale with fear. The largest fleet we have ever seen them assemble. What happened to our peacekeeping force? Asked another delegate. Council Prime's light dimmed to almost nothing. They engaged the advanced Reaper scouts near the Helios system. All 23 peacekeeping ships were destroyed. There were no survivors. The chamber erupted in panic again. Some delegates were already talking about evacuation, others about surrender. Chen listened to the chaos while studying the tactical display. The Reaper advance was well planned and coordinated. They were moving fast, hitting multiple targets to spread out any resistance. How long until they reach the first core world? Chen asked, cutting through the noise. At their current speed, approximately 72 hours, Council Prime replied. And what is our total military capacity to resist them? The silence that followed was answer enough. Finally, Thylex spoke up. The peacekeeping force was our only military organization. Individual member worlds have local defense fleets, but they are small and not designed for large-scale warfare. Chen stood up slowly. What about evacuation plans? We are working on relocating essential personnel to secure facilities in distant systems, Vorthak said hopefully. Perhaps if we show the Reapers that we offer no resistance, they will be merciful. Has that approach worked in the past? Chen asked. No one answered. They all knew it had not. Chen walked to the tactical display and studied it carefully. The other delegates watched him with growing desperation. After 6 months, they had come to respect his analytical mind and calm thinking. If anyone could find a solution, maybe it would be the human. Council Prime, Chen said finally. I need to ask you something important. When you reviewed Earth's application to join the Council, what exactly did you learn about our last global war? I do not understand how that is relevant to our current crisis, Council Prime replied. Please answer the question. Council Prime's lights flickered with confusion. Our files indicate that Earth experienced a global conflict approximately 20 years ago. The war ended when diplomatic negotiations led to a lasting peace treaty. You personally were involved in those negotiations. Chen nodded slowly. And that is all your files contain? Yes. We focused on your species' diplomatic achievements and technological capabilities, not the details of your violent past. Chen removed his glasses and cleaned them carefully. When he looked up, several delegates noticed that his eyes seemed different somehow. Harder. More focused. The files are incomplete. Chen said quietly. Earth's last war was not like the small conflicts you might imagine. It was total war on a scale that your peaceful species cannot understand. It involved every nation, every resource, every person on our planet. By the end, we had weapons that could destroy entire continents. But you achieved peace through diplomacy, Vorthak protested. No, Chen said, his voice still calm but somehow more commanding. We achieved peace through victory. The war ended because one side was completely defeated, and the other side was strong enough to enforce the peace. The delegates looked confused and frightened. This was not the gentle diplomat they had known for months. Chen walked to the communication console at the center of the chamber. Council Prime, I need to use the emergency broadcast system. I have to contact Earth immediately. Earth is too far away to help us now, Thylax said desperately. Even if they sent ships, they could not arrive in time. Chen looked at the insect-like alien with something that might have been pity. Thylax, my friend, you still do not understand what Earth sent you. He activated the communication system and spoke into the microphone. Emergency authorization code, Broken Arrow 77 Charlie. Priority 1. This is Admiral Marcus Chen requesting immediate activation of Protocol Omega. The word Admiral hit the chamber like a physical blow. Delegates stared at Chen in shock and confusion. The mild-mannered ambassador they thought they knew was speaking with the voice of a military commander. Repeat, this is Admiral Chen. The Void Reapers are advancing on core world systems with over 5,000 ships. Council forces have been eliminated. Request immediate implementation of full defensive measures. Authorization, Broken Arrow 77 Charlie. A voice responded from the speakers, cold and professional. Admiral Chen, this is command. We have been monitoring the situation. All assets are standing by and ready for deployment. Please confirm. You are requesting full revelation of Terran defense capabilities? Chen looked around the chamber at the frightened aliens. Some were starting to understand that something much bigger was happening than they had realized. Confirmed, Chen said. The Galactic Council is under direct threat. It is time to show them what Earth really sent. Understood, Admiral. Initiating Phase Omega. All concealed assets are now active. Ghost Fleet is moving to intercept. ETA to first engagement, 18 hours. Ghost Fleet? Council Prime whispered. Chen turned to face the assembled delegates. His transformation was complete now. The diplomatic mask was gone, replaced by something that made even the bravest aliens step back. This was not a peaceful negotiator. This was a warrior. Let me introduce myself properly, Chen said, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to command. I am Admiral Marcus Chen, former Supreme Commander of the United Earth Defense Fleet. I did not retire to become a diplomat. I was specifically assigned to this position after we ended the Terran War. The Terran War? Vorthak asked weakly. What your files called Earth's last global conflict. It was actually the most advanced, sophisticated, and brutal war in galactic history. We fought that war across multiple star systems, using weapons and tactics that would terrify your peacekeeping forces. When it ended, Earth had the most powerful military in known space. The holographic display flickered and changed. New contacts began appearing throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been invisible suddenly became visible. Stations that had seemed like mining operations or research facilities revealed themselves as military bases. The scope of it was staggering. You see, Chen continued, humanity did not join your council as junior partners seeking guidance. We joined as protectors, Earth has been preparing for this day since we first learned about the Void Reapers 6 months ago. 6 months ago? Thylex gasped. But we only told you about them today. Chen almost smiled. Thylex, we knew about the Reapers before I arrived here. We knew about every threat in this galaxy. Do you really think we would send our people to live among other species without first making sure they would be safe? The truth was beginning to dawn on the terrified delegates. Earth had not sent them a diplomat seeking to learn. They had sent them a guardian, a protector who had been watching and preparing while they debated and delayed. The question now, Chen said, his eyes fixed on the advancing red dots that represented the Reaper fleet, is whether you trust us to do what must be done. Because in 18 hours, this galaxy is going to see what happens when someone threatens Earth's allies. The chamber was completely silent, except for the hum of electronics and the soft breathing of frightened aliens. Outside the windows, stars twinkled peacefully, unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy was about to change forever. The next 18 hours passed in a strange mixture of terror and wonder for the council delegates. Chen had transformed from a quiet diplomat into something else entirely. He moved through the station with purpose, speaking into communication devices and coordinating activities that none of the aliens understood. The main chamber had been converted into a military command center. Holographic displays showed the galaxy in real time, with thousands of new contacts that had not been visible before. Human ships were appearing everywhere, emerging from hiding places that had been concealed for months. How many vessels does Earth have? Council Prime asked, its crystalline body flickering with nervous energy. Chen looked up from a tactical display. Enough, he said simply. The Void Reaper fleet was still advancing toward the core worlds, but their progress had slowed. They seemed confused by the new contacts appearing on their sensors. Warlord Kazreth, their leader, had sent out scout ships to investigate, but many of them had simply disappeared without reporting back. Admiral, came a voice from the communication system. This is Captain Rodriguez of the battleship Vengeance. We have visual contact with the main Reaper fleet. They are maintaining course toward Proxima Prime. Request permission to engage. Chen studied the tactical display for a moment. The Reaper fleet was massive, but it was also spread out across several light years. Their formation was designed to overwhelm local defenders, not to fight a coordinated enemy. Negative, Captain Rodriguez. Maintain stealth and continue observation. Wait for the Ghost Fleet to arrive. Understood, Admiral. Vengeance will continue shadowing. Forthak approached Chen carefully. The blue-skinned alien had been trying to understand what was happening for hours. Admiral Chen, what is the Ghost Fleet? Chen did not look away from his displays. Ships that do not officially exist, crewed by people who are supposed to be dead. When Earth ended the Terran War, we did not simply disband our military. We hid it. Why? Because we learned something that your peaceful species never had to learn. There is always another threat coming. Always another enemy who thinks they can take what is not theirs. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. Peace is something you have to fight for. The holographic display suddenly changed. New contacts were appearing near the Reaper fleet, dozens of them. But these ships were different from the ones that had been revealed earlier. They were larger, more heavily armed, and they moved with a coordination that spoke of extensive training. Ghost Fleet has arrived, Chen announced to the chamber. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. You are cleared to engage. Rules of engagement are as follows. Disable when possible, destroy when necessary. Priority is protection of civilian populations. Begin operation. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the Battle of Deep Space. But for the aliens watching from the Council Station, it looked more like a demonstration than a battle. The human ships moved with a precision that amazed the watching delegates. They appeared from stealth, launched coordinated attacks, and disappeared again before the Reapers could respond effectively. Within the first hour, over 300 Reaper vessels had been disabled or destroyed. How are they doing this? Thylex asked in wonder. Superior technology, superior tactics, and superior training, Chen replied. The Terran War taught us to fight against enemies who were just as advanced and just as determined as we were. The Reapers are brutal, but they are not sophisticated. On the display, they could see Warlord Kazreth's flagship trying to coordinate a response. The massive Reaper vessel was heavily armed and armored, a floating fortress that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. But as they watched, 3 human ships appeared around it like ghosts and began a precise assault on its weapon systems. Warlord Kazrith is attempting to communicate, reported one of Chen's officers. He is demanding to speak with our commander. Chen touched a control, and the main display changed to show the interior of the Reaper flagship. Warlord Kazrith was a huge creature with gray skin and cybernetic implants covering half his body. His yellow eyes burned with rage and confusion. "Who dares to attack the Void Reapers?" Kazrith roared. "What species is foolish enough to challenge us?" Chen stepped forward so the Reaper could see him. "I am Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You are attacking members of the Galactic Council, which makes you our enemy." Kazrith's eyes widened. "Humans, but you are nothing. A young species with primitive technology."
"How are you doing this?"
"You made the same mistake as everyone else," Chen said calmly. "You underestimated us. You saw what we wanted you to see. Now you see what we really are." "This is impossible," Kazrith screamed. "The Void Reapers have conquered hundreds of worlds. We are the strongest force in the galaxy." "You were," Chen corrected. "But you never fought Earth." The battle continued for several more hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The human fleet dismantled the Reaper forces with surgical precision. Ships that tried to flee were captured. Those that fought were disabled and boarded. The massive Reaper fleet that had struck terror into the galaxy for centuries was being methodically destroyed. "Admiral," came another report. "Boarding Team 7 has secured Kazrith's flagship. The Warlord has been taken into custody. His command staff is also captured." "What about the other Reaper strongholds?" Chen asked. "Simultaneous operations are concluding now, sir. All major Reaper bases have been neutralized. Slave camps are being liberated. Total enemy casualties are minimal, due to our focus on capture rather than destruction." The Council delegates listened to these reports in stunned silence. In less than a day, humanity had accomplished what the Council had failed to do in 2 centuries. The Void Reaper threat was over. Chen turned to address the chamber. "The immediate crisis has passed. All Reaper military assets have been neutralized. Their leadership is in custody. The slave camps have been liberated and the survivors are receiving medical attention." "How?" Council Prime asked weakly. "How did you do this so quickly?" "Because we prepared," Chen said. "When Earth joined the Council, we immediately began analyzing every threat in the galaxy. We identified the Reapers as the most serious danger and developed specific plans to deal with them. We positioned assets, gathered intelligence, and waited for the right moment." Vorthok stepped forward. "Admiral Chen, what happens now? What does Earth want from us?" Chen was quiet for a moment, looking around at the frightened and confused aliens. Then he sat down in his usual chair and put his glasses back on. For a moment, he looked like the mild-mannered diplomat they had known. "Earth wants the same thing we have always wanted," he said gently. "To live in peace with our neighbors. To trade, to learn, to grow together. The only difference is that now you know we have the strength to protect that peace." "But you lied to us," Thylek said accusingly. "You pretended to be something you were not," Chen nodded. "Yes, we did. Because we needed to know if the Galactic Council was worth protecting. We needed to see if you would choose courage over cowardice when the moment came. Today, when faced with extinction, you chose to fight rather than surrender. That tells us everything we need to know about your character." The holographic display changed again, showing the true scope of human presence in the galaxy. Defense stations, patrol fleets, monitoring posts. Earth had been protecting the Council for months without them knowing it. "We have been your guardians since the day we joined," Chen explained. "Every ship that entered Council space, every suspicious activity, every potential threat, we have been watching and protecting. The Reapers were just the most obvious danger." "What other threats are there?" Council Prime asked nervously. Chen smiled, and for the first time in hours it looked genuine. "That is classified information, Council Prime, but do not worry. Earth will handle them when the time comes." The crisis was over, but everything had changed. The gentle diplomat was gone, replaced by something far more complex. The Council had learned that their newest member was not a junior partner seeking guidance, but a guardian angel with the power to reshape the galaxy. And in the far corners of space, other enemies who had been watching and planning suddenly began to reconsider their ambitions. Word would spread quickly that the galaxy had new protectors, and these protectors were not interested in peaceful negotiations with those who threatened innocent lives. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Deep Space. The Council Station had returned to something resembling normal operations. But nothing would ever be quite the same. The delegates went through their daily routines of debates and diplomatic discussions, but they all knew that the real power in the galaxy had shifted. Chen sat in his usual place during the morning session, taking notes as he always had. But now the other delegates watched him differently. They saw the mild-mannered diplomat, but they also remembered the military commander who had appeared when the crisis demanded it. It was like looking at two different people occupying the same body. The reconstruction of the liberated worlds is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Delegate Thylex. The former Reaper slaves are being relocated to temporary facilities while their homeworlds are rebuilt. How many survivors were there? Asked Vorthak. Approximately 8 million beings across 47 different worlds, Thylex replied. Many of them had been in captivity for decades. Some do not even remember their original homes. Chen looked up from his notes. What kind of support are they receiving? Medical care, counseling, and job training, Thylex explained. The Council has established a special fund to help with their rehabilitation. That is good, Chen said quietly. No one should have to suffer what they suffered. Council Prime turned its attention to Chen. Ambassador Chen, we have received reports that human medical teams are providing assistance to the survivors. We want to express our gratitude for this help. It is the right thing to do, Chen replied simply. But Vorthak had a different question. Ambassador Chen, there is something that many of us have been wondering about. When the crisis ended, your ships could have taken control of Council space. Your military superiority is obvious. Why did you not seize power? Chen set down his pen and looked around the chamber. Every delegate was listening carefully to his answer. This question had been weighing on all their minds. Because that is not who we are, Chen said finally. Earth did not develop the strongest military in the galaxy so we could conquer others. We developed it so we could protect others. There is a difference. But surely Earth could benefit from ruling the galaxy, pressed another delegate. Think of the resources, the territory, the power. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the great window that looked out into space. Let me tell you about the Terran War, he said, not turning around. It started because different groups of humans wanted to rule others. They thought that having power over others would make them happy and secure. The delegates listened intently as Chen continued. The war lasted 8 years and killed over 2 billion people. By the end, entire continents were uninhabitable. The oceans were poisoned. The sky was dark with smoke and ash. We learned something important from that experience. What did you learn? Council Prime asked softly. Chen turned back to face them. We learned that ruling others through force does not bring peace or happiness. It only brings more war. The only way to have real security is to help others become strong enough to defend themselves. Is that why you revealed your capabilities to us? Thylex asked. Partly, Chen nodded. But also because you needed to know the truth. For months I watched you struggle with the Reaper threat. You wanted to do the right thing, but you did not have the tools. It was not fair to let you suffer when we could help. Vorthak stood up slowly. Ambassador Chen, there is something else we need to discuss. Since the battle, we have detected other activities by human forces throughout the galaxy. Ships patrolling sectors we did not know you had access to. Bases in systems we thought were uninhabited. How long has this been going on? Chen returned to his seat and put his glasses back on. For a moment he looked like the simple diplomat again, but his words carried the weight of revealed truth. Since before I arrived here, he admitted, Earth began establishing a protective network around Council space 6 months before we officially joined. We needed to ensure that our people would be safe, and that meant ensuring that our allies would be safe as well. You have been protecting us without our knowledge, Council Prime stated. Yes. For how long? Chen hesitated. Since your first communication with Earth 3 years ago. When you invited us to consider joining the Council, we began monitoring potential threats to Council space. The Reapers were the most obvious danger, but they were not the only one. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Thylex spoke. What other threats are there? That information is classified, Chen said gently. But I can tell you that Earth takes its responsibilities seriously. We will continue to monitor and respond to threats as they arise. So humanity has appointed itself as the galaxy's protector, observed another delegate. No, Chen corrected. Humanity has appointed itself as the Council's protector. We have no interest in controlling species outside the Council, But those who are part of our community will always have our protection. Council Prime's lights flickered with what Chen had learned was deep thought. Ambassador Chen, we need to discuss the political implications of this revelation. The balance of power in the Council has fundamentally changed. Chen nodded. I understand your concerns. Earth does not want to dominate Council decisions. We want to participate as equals just as we always have. But you are not equals, Forthak pointed out. Your military capabilities far exceed anything the rest of us possess. How can we have equal voices when you have such overwhelming power? The same way families work when the parents are stronger than the children, Chen replied. Strength does not automatically give you the right to make all the decisions. It gives you the responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And if the Council makes a decision that Earth disagrees with, asked Thylex. Chen considered this carefully. Then we will argue our position, try to persuade you, and ultimately accept the majority decision. Unless that decision puts innocent lives at risk, in that case we will do what we think is right, regardless of what the Council decides. That sounds like you reserve the right to override our decisions, Council Prime observed. Only when those decisions would result in unnecessary suffering, Chen clarified. Earth will not stand by and watch genocide or slavery, even if the Council votes to allow it. But those are extreme situations. In normal circumstances, we will respect the Council's authority. The discussion continued for several hours. The delegates asked many questions about Earth's intentions, capabilities, and long-term plans. Chen answered as honestly as he could while maintaining necessary security. By the end, a new understanding had been reached. I want to make something clear, Chen said as the session concluded. Earth did not reveal our capabilities to intimidate you or to change your political structure. We revealed them because the galaxy is a dangerous place and you deserve to know that you have protection. What happens now? Asked Forthak. Chen smiled, and this time it was the warm, genuine smile they remembered from his early days on the station. Now we continue as we always have. You debate, negotiate, and make decisions about trade and diplomacy. I take notes and offer advice when asked. The only difference is that everyone sleeps a little more soundly at night. And if another threat like the Reapers emerges, pressed Council Prime. Then you call me and I make another call to Earth, Chen said simply. But hopefully word of what happened to the Reapers will discourage others from testing our resolve. As the delegates left the chamber, Chen remained behind, looking out at the stars. The mild-mannered diplomat was back, complete with wire-rimmed glasses and quiet demeanor. But everyone now knew what lay beneath that gentle exterior. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Appearances could be deceiving, and the most dangerous guardian was often the one who looked the most harmless. Earth had not conquered the galaxy through force, but had claimed it through protection. And that made all the difference. In the months that followed, trade flourished, exploration expanded, and conflicts decreased. Other species began to apply for council membership, drawn by the promise of security and prosperity. The galaxy entered a new age of peace, protected by guardians who understood that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to protect. And Marcus Chen continued to take notes, ask thoughtful questions, and represent humanity's interests with quiet dignity. But now everyone knew that behind the diplomat stood a warrior, and behind the warrior stood a species that had learned the hardest lesson of all, that sometimes the price of peace was being ready for war.